Jason Miller, PhD. I guess it could be Dr. Miller. Remember, I can't save your life unless it's indirectly through the barbell. I could indirectly save your life by using the barbell chronically. All right, anyway. I have a book review for today. And before I do that, let me shamelessly plug my own book, Foundational Weight Training. It's on Amazon. Check it out. The book is about foundational weight training. So it provides some physiological background and then I'm fascinated with sets and repetition strategies, like Paula Quinn's old book. But it also has some general programming guides, tapering. Basically it's 120 pages of things that I've accumulated over the years, and I'm going to keep adding to it. It's the second edition. The first edition was awful, to be honest with you. The second edition is much better. The third edition will be much better than that, I'm sure. I hope. But added some things on velocity-based training and auto-regulation, same thing, and so on. So check out my book if you get a chance. The book I'm reviewing now, the description of my book link to my book is in the video link. This is the book I'm reviewing right now, though. Dr. Horschig's Rebuilding Milo. If you're not familiar with Dr. Horschig, I have a hard time with him. He's Squat University guy. I really struggle with the information he puts out. I think a lot of it is misinformed. I'm just joking. I really like Squat University. I always tell my students, be first or be controversial. So that was my attempt at being controversial to get attention, right? Isn't that how you do that on the gram and the tube? Squat University, if you haven't had a chance, it's one of the few Instagram pages, YouTube channels that I recommend following in the field of training. Dr. Cressy, Eric Cressy's another one, for example. I have some others that I recommend to my students in my classes. I go easy on those though, because there's just so much garbage out there. I'm probably in that pile of garbage, but Squat University is one of those good foundational sites. Dr. Horschig is a PT, which doesn't mean anything, to be honest with you. It's just like having a PhD doesn't mean jack squat, or even an MD, right? It doesn't mean anything. But you have a PT that actually is familiar with people who move loads, and I think appreciates the fact that the body moves differently when it's under load than when it's not. So I think a lot of limitations in current rehabilitation is that we go from establishing range of motion in an injured limb, and then maybe some band training, high rep stuff, and then jump right into, if it's an athlete, right into the plyos or something. Like there's a big gap there, and how does the body perform under load? And that's reestablish like real strength. And that sounds like a weird thing to say. What's real strength? What I mean by that is actually moving some heavy objects, right? Pushing load again. That's challenging for the individual, not just sets of 15. Okay. I think that's something not all rehabilitation people struggle with, but I think that's something that's just a gap in rehabilitation for anybody, not just athletes, but certainly for athletes. So, Squat University, I recommend. I'm slow into recommending people as well. Even RP, I'm an RP Renaissance periodization coach. I didn't know much about RP, when it first started. Nobody did. Anytime you learn something new, you don't know much about it. And I was slow to look at it, but then you start to see who's involved and what the information they're putting out, and that, this is good. And over time, you start to realize this is a good source. And again, I'm slow to follow people, but Squat University is one of those. Again, I was like, I don't know, seeing so many of these guys, and yeah, he has a lot of followers. Does that mean anything? But as you see over time, not only is he preaching good things, but he's also attracting people in the strength community that are that can evaluate BS as well. Again, that doesn't mean a high-powered athlete with somebody is just somebody you should follow. But I'm impressed with Squat University, and I'm impressed with this book. If you're familiar with, I think Dr. Hennock, I think I reviewed his book. I don't remember, but it's a book he did with Greg Everett Catalyst. At least Greg Everett was in it. And Jessica Lucero was on the cover. It was more weightlifting geared. And then there's Kelly Starrett's books on becoming a supple leopard, right? 2 books there. Very much in that same vein of those 2 books. What I like about this book, and I think all 3 books have strengths, and all 3 books I recommend. Hennock's books, certainly, if you are a weightlifter, Olympic-style weightlifter, pick that book up. I think that's the place to go. This book, Rebuilding Milo, is also a great resource. It's a little bit more broad, I would say, which is not a bad thing. So if you move a barbell, okay, if you move under load, Rebuilding Milo is a book I would recommend. It's very well organized. It's joint by joint approach after the introduction, and at the end it has a nice section on whether we should use ice or not. I was preach, brother, as I was reading this one. Blood flow wins. and not using ice, and the reasons why. The information here is substantiated on all the topics in here. It's very much PT like a structure to it, like assess and then do something about it, but also recognizing nuance. I think that's oftentimes on the gram that you see, well, if you have this problem, it's this. Do this exercise and it'll cure everything. Not necessarily. And Dr. Horschig is obviously a bright guy and has recognized that fact, and nuances throughout the book as well, understanding that everybody's body is different. Well, that's not true. For the most, there's groups of body types and movement problems, and just because you have a movement error doesn't mean it's as a result of the same dysfunction as somebody else. Like your hamstrings may be tight and their hip flexor may be an issue, and that's causing a dysfunction, right? So it's the same dysfunction, but it's presented in different ways. So again, the information here is presented very well. The pictures are very good. It's written for anybody. It's certainly a clinician. I think there's some clinicians that could use this book. But it's certainly written for the coach, for the everyday person that's not a clinician. I think you can understand it without much problem. I would highly recommend it for professionals in the field. If you're a coach, certainly if you're coaching in the weight room in any capacity, a coach, personal trainer, if you're in academia, I highly recommend this book. Okay, I would use this as part of a college course if I could make it fit. As a course by itself. It'd be a great course on just general movement and helping people move better. Like maybe I'll make it into a course and make this book the text. Just kind of help working people through. If you're a personal trainer or coach, when you see movement dysfunction or pain, well, how do you address it? Well, here's some ideas and some simple exercises that can be worked in as a circuit or as fillers or whatever it may be. There's suggestions, and it's not just, a lot of times when you start coaching, those of you who are familiar with coaching, you see stuff and you're like, there's that problem. Okay, how do you fix it? Right? And it's not just saying don't do that is not going to be enough. You need to know a drill or an exercise or an approach, a strategy in order to make the corrections, in order to see positive progress. So I think it's a great book for a professional. I'd love to see it part of college courses, and again, maybe I'll adopt it as part of a course here at the university. I'm trying to think of any limitations I saw with it. Nothing, again, appreciate what it is. It's a movement book. So it's not a physiology book. It's not a textbook. And for many of that, you're like, whoo, great. It's in that same vein as those other two books I mentioned, how to move better. This is a book about how to move better by a person that I think you can trust, is, incorporating other people that you trust, like Dr. McGill, who's, arguably the leading expert. I hate that word, but leading expert on the spine. So a good book. I'll quit talking in circles. I talk about this for, obviously I can't show you the contents of the book. It's copyrighted. Go out and buy the book. It's a good edition. If you move under load, it's going to be a really helpful thing. If you're a weightlifter, power lifter, strongman, heavy athletics, it's going to be worth having as part of your collection. All right, like this video. If you don't like the book, I think you will, but like this video, subscribe to my channel. I got lots of other book reviews, journal club reviews, rambles, topical stuff. Just put out a series on weightlifting technique right now. Take a look at all the videos I have, and hope you'll sub. I think that's what the cool kids say, to my channel, and hit the notification bell and whatever other things you're supposed to say on YouTube. I'll see you in the next video.